And welcome back to Hypetrain. We've got another internet historian reaction for you tonight, and this is the Cost of Concordia. Do you remember Concordia? Anything about it?
Oh, a big ship.
A big boat.
A big ship.
Didn't do very well. It's about 10 years ago now, so it'd be interesting.
Cruise liner, really.
Yeah, a proper cruise liner. I can't remember exactly how big it was, but I remember it was expensive. I remember I don't know, it might have been its maiden voyage. I remember it didn't go very well. It was all over the news here in the UK.
Got 2006 wrote on the front, so on the bell there. So did it go down in 2006?
I thought it might have gone. I thought it was 2012. I could be wrong.
Maybe that's when it was made.
So no, this is a long one, so let's give it a couple of little pauses in between, but other than that, we love a little bit of internet history, and I think there's still quite a few more that we could possibly react to, so be sure to stick around by subscribing, hitting the notification bell.
Down there.
Yeah, in the meantime, let's go for this one.
The Cost of Concordia, ship of dreams. It's been 8 years. I can still smell the buffets
yeah,
from
that's
their
what I was thinking.
5 restaurants. The casino and 3-story theatre had hardly been used. The gym, the day spa, the sheets in her 1,500 luxurious cabins hadn't even been slept in. Cost of Concordia cost $570 million to build.
Oh!
And you could tell. You could really tell.
Titanic music in the background. Oh, brilliant.
I remember it like it was just a few years ago. We had left Civitavecchia, a port in Rome, and we were making our way to Savona. It was day 2 of our 7-day journey.
Oh.
But that ship, she was cursed. When she premiered, the traditional bottle of champagne bounced right off the side.
Oh no, that's a bad sign.
Not a bad omen, but I'm not the superstitious type. Nothing could go wrong on Friday the 13th of January 2012. On the 100th year anniversary of the Titanic. On a ship that's also only safety rated for 2-compartment flooding. Especially not when you have a 5-star max level captain like Francisco Schettino, a man who mysteriously rose from head of security to the position of captain within just a couple of years. He knows exactly what to do in case of an emergency. For example, when he caused this emergency in 2008, when he crashed into a port. And in 2010, in Warnemünde, Germany, when he was steering a different ship and came into port too fast and caused another collision.
And they are making a speed too.
So let's set this. It's a beautiful evening. People are having fun on the slides, drinks at the bar. Antonio Magnotto.
You wouldn't let him use it after the first time, let alone the second.
The magician is setting up for his show. And the ship is setting up for a little detour. It's called a sail by salute. Basically, you get real close to the shore and honk the horn. The locals hate it, but the customers love it, and it's a tradition. Schettino, the captain, comes into the dining hall with the lady, Dominica Samorton. Remember this face, because you'll be seeing a lot of it later. Schettino eats his dinner with her, and socializes.
He's got the time with her.
Then he, Dominica, and the maitre d' finish up and excuse themselves. They're heading to the bridge. It's time for that sail by salute. This time, they're going to get closer than ever. Just 1,500 feet from the island of Giglio.
Are they supposed to?
And how are they going to determine this distance? Well, of course, the captain is going to eyeball it. Apparently, it's not an uncommon thing to do.
Really?
Schettino turns to the fella steering, his helmsman, Jacob Ruslibin. First interesting tidbit. Costa Crociere has hired Jacob from Indonesia at a rock-bottom price. He's a bit of a newbie to the job. In fact, his profession hitherto, a painter and a cleaner. It's his first time steering a massive ship.
Not really saving much money, has it?
At least, we think he is. It's hard to tell because he doesn't speak English or Italian very well at all. Off to a good start. The second in command orders the helmsman to 290. Now, don't be confused by these numbers, they're just the degrees on a compass. At the same time, the captain whips out his cell phone and calls former captain Mario Palombo, who lives on the island. They chat about the safe distance to Giglio's shores. It's all very casual. Anyway, Mario says that the safe distance is between 0.3 and 0.4 miles from shore. The captain
Don't sound very far, actually, do it?
No, not
This is not
really.
his first sail by salute, so he's confident in what he's doing. We're going closer than we've ever been before. The captain's eyeballing it again. New heading of 300, he tells the helmsman. Downstairs, Martin is about to cut his assistant in half. And of course, that means that there's already a lady inside this box. She's waiting for the cue, and then she'll poke her legs out. The captain is giving more.
They give away the secret.
310. Increase speed to 16 knots. Going this fast is
Needs
going
a bit
to
of
be
warning in
fatal
this.
error. But before we talk about that, let's talk about another big problem. Language barrier.
Yeah.
Because at this point, the captain says 325, but the helmsman relays 315. So the first officer intervenes, and he goes, no, 335, which is also wrong. And then the captain clarifies, no, 325. The helmsman confirms 325.
Okay.
Their poor communication has them moving at a much wider angle than they think they are. However, the captain should and would know this, except for the next problem, complacency about procedure. The standard procedure of a ship this large is for the third officer to give exact positional coordinates every time the captain gives a new directional order. But they're not doing that.
No.
330, he says. The helmsman relays 330. The ship reaches 16 knots. The captain then turns to the second officer and instructs him to go to the left wing. That's these things here, and they basically exist so you can get a better view over the whole vessel. A few seconds pass, and then the mood starts to turn. Scatino notices white foam waves breaking against the rocks directly
see rocks.
in front of him
he's on
in the
rocks.
distance. The Cost of Concordia, right now, is almost 700 meters closer to the rocks than it should
Reverse.
be. Without deviation, there is going to be a
Reverse.
direct collision.
Sorry,
Deja vu for him.
Scatino immediately commands the ship to start turning away. 335. Not enough. The captain shouts, 340.
Oh, come on, you just
The
swung it
captain
right
yells,
round, wouldn't you?
350.
Just go out.
Now, remember how I said that accelerating to 16 knots was a fatal error? Well, that's because it's made this ship incapable of such a drastic turn. What they've got is understeer.
Yeah.
Here's an example.
The front end is not working. You're turning, and you're just going straight. You want to go over here, but you're going to end
Speed
up over here.
skid.
So despite the order of 350, right now the bow is still
Yeah,
only pointing
right,
at
yeah, I'm with you.
327.
Oh, look at them rocks
Not
coming up.
nearly enough to miss the rock.
No.
And oh no, it's about to get worse. That language barrier again. In these critical moments where every second counts, the helmsman wrongly relays 340. The captain snaps back, 350 starboard or we end up on the rocks. The third officer goes to assist
Come on,
them.
that
Oh,
the
nearly
music
so.
going in.
Right round,
Now,
wouldn't
don't
it?
get
Sharp
confused
as
by
you
the orders
could.
from here. We're changing over to rudder instructions. The captain yells, starboard 10, starboard 20.
What a mess.
Still, it's not enough. Hard to starboard. That means as hard as it'll go.
I should have
But
done
at
that
this
to
point,
start with.
even if they clear these rocks, they need to get the rest of the ship to swing around it. So the captain yells, midship, which centers the rudder. The bow is now less than 150 meters from Skull Rock. Port 10. But the helmsman only gets to port 5 before another order is given 2 seconds later. Port 20. They might just avoid disaster here, maybe. But then, oh no. One more time, the helmsman cocks up at the worst possible moment.
Did you turn the wrong
The
way?
helmsman goes to starboard instead of port, undoing the swing. 8 seconds later, he realizes the error and corrects, but it's too late. He has just turned a probable near miss into a sure hit. All
Wow.
they can do now is hold on as the bow of the ship narrowly passes by the rocks. Hard to port! The second officer yells,
He might have to
"We're
get his
gonna
paint
hit."
and decorating gear out and start repairing.
Collision.
Cue the music. An accident like that, though, was waiting to happen, weren't it? Even at the start of this, when he said about, like you said, the captain, he's already crashed 2 ships, you know, and then to actually employ somebody who's literally, who used to be a cleaner and all that, he's got a language barrier. What a bad...
And he's between the two of them, they've really just destroyed millions and millions of pounds worth of
on his second voyage. That's diabolical.
Ad time. Downtown, Nordtown.
VPN.
Yeah.
It's day 56, playing Russian roulette.
That's it, I think it's drink time.
Seems I never win.
Be rude to skip it though, wouldn't it?
Somebody has to.
Do you use Nord?
I hear you're
You don't use Nord, do you?
Finding
I've used Nord
folks.
before.
I'm many things.
I'm looking for this fella. I got to find him.
It's all right.
It's breaking my little heart.
I'll see what I
They
can
did do one
I have
mistake where they
contacts
forgot
in
to tell
thousands of
anyone that
servers
they'd
in dozens
opened
of
them all
countries
for no
across the
reason.
globe.
Accidentally
And
left
just
them
like
all
that,
open.
she was gone.
And they didn't
The
tell
only
anyone
thing
for a
she left
year.
was a call.
Oh, right.
So they got a bit of a bad name for that. But
Sometimes when
They're
you
all right,
follow a
I mean.
case, it follows you back.
He's made a whole
NordVPN
story about
can protect my
NordVPN.
online data.
Brilliant.
And who can protect me from myself? When they said this job gets easier, it was just another lie. Forensics found his password spread all the way down the block. In a perfect world, we'd all use NordVPN. But I guess this isn't that kind of story. I took the
She's
brakes
going to have a
off my
promotion
car.
code in there somewhere.
Man,
What
got
is it?
to.
Yeah, I
Every
used the
bit
code
of the
Internet
house.
Historian to get a 2-year plan, 1 extra month for a huge
I took the
discount.
steering wheel out too. I let the road take me
Risk
where I'm
free.
supposed to be.
I did see that on their website, the
That's right,
risk-free bit.
Toots.
I was
Your
tempted, but
husband's dead. Merry Christmas. Go to nordvpn.com/internet
yeah, go for
store
it, check it out.
for a huge discount on a 2-year plan.
there you go.
Add? Oh.
There you go.
The ship hits rocks on the port side. A 53-meter gash opens up in the hull, and thousands of tons of water begin pouring in. A loud scraping and bang is heard by all passengers. At the helm is panic. Rumblings in the dining room. Martin awkwardly pauses his act as he's helping his assistant into the
Of course.
box. Meanwhile, the lady inside
Let me out.
terrified. There's confusion
Yeah.
across the ship. All of the crew off shift come back on duty. All officers run to the bridge. Technical crews run down to the lower decks to assess damage. On connection with the rocks, they
They're
lose
brave, aren't
propulsion
they?
and slow to 8.3 knots. And they are now adrift. Close the watertight doors at stern. Enormous volumes of water are pouring in. So much so that within 29 seconds of collision, all 6 engines stop working.
Wow!
22 seconds later,
What?
blackout
No.
hits. Lights, electrics, water pumps too.
Well said, Kev.
The captain orders the helmsman hard starboard. This is the final position of the rudder before power to that too is lost.
Lost, yeah.
The Cost of Concordia, now without power, is
Just
drifting,
drifting out.
starboard.
Is that how it... I thought I thought it beached.
I never thought about getting a job as a as a captain. I think I could do that.
Running. When the Concordia
pretty sure I could
struck
manage
land,
not
it
to
tore open 3
crash something like
watertight
that.
compartments. At first, compartment 5, which filled very rapidly. Then 6 more slowly, 4 shortly after. Then 7, 8, and 3.
We're gonna say you only
Modern
allowed
ships
2
are built
bits
to
to
withstand
flood, wasn't it?
2 compartment
them,
breaches.
yeah.
These compartments especially,
So
though,
it's-
are a problem.
Well, yeah.
Because they contain the
Engines,
engines
The
and
worst
the electrics.
ones.
These main generators give power to the whole ship. From propulsion
Oh, I
motors
must
to
have gone
rudder
dark
to
in
hotel
there.
functions. Pretty much everything. When they went out, the ship was a functionless, sinking cage.
Oh.
A few seconds later, the emergency batteries for internal lighting and
All right.
communications
Oh, it's got
kick
some.
on. When the lights come back on, Martin has vanished. He's ditched the stage. And it caused a huge panic in the theatre, as passengers are trying to flee to their cabins and to muster stations. People already in their cabins come out and start putting on life vests. Staff rally and try to calm everyone down. Everything's
Yeah.
fine.
Calm down,
There's
it's
no
just
need for
having a
vests.
little-
The only good thing is, compared to the Titanic, they're close
The
to
emergency
shore, aren't
generator
they?
starts.
No, it's a good thing, but still. That doesn't mean.
All of the watertight doors close except
Oh.
for door 12. which is jammed.
Oh no!
The captain calls Pilon, the chief engineer.
I assume it
as the
wasn't
ship
freezing
begins to list
cold
on the
there.
port side.
No, it
Is
sounds
water
like
coming
a
in?
tropical
Yes.
sort of area or
There's an
a
area,
warmer area.
It's area.
Yeah, that's what I
But a
mean.
lot of water? Yes. There's water.
You've still got that vacuum of that size ship pulling you down, and if you're up in the water.
In the theatre, the whole magic box apparatus slides right off the stage and falls into the crowd, further increasing panic. On the bridge, an announcement is being prepared. They are going to lie to prevent a panic. Let's just say we have a blackout.
I like to not go no.
A blackout after it hits all the rocks.
The deputy chief engineer enters the engine control room. He confirms to the bridge that at least compartments 5, 6, and 7 are flooded. Announcements are made.
We have the captain to inform you that due to an electrical fault, which is currently under control, we're currently in a blackout. Our technicians are working to resolve the situation.
Wow.
But then it's like,
Developments as they occur.
well, they might not have been leaning when that was said, but
Coincidentally, at the same time in the restaurant, they're playing My Heart Will Go On, and it's very much not helping the situation. The captain calls the Costa Crisis Unit. Roberto Ferrarini. He tells the crisis unit that they've hit a rock, that they're assessing damages, and that they are also in a blackout. The crisis office says to reverse the ship up onto shore.
can't.
Well, how are you going to do that? You don't have power to the rudder,
Yeah.
let alone the engine.
No power.
You know, hoist the sails? Anyway, around this time, the wind direction creates a starboard list, and the ship begins to turn anyway, drifting right back towards the shore, which is a very good thing because you want the ship to end up as close to shore as possible.
True.
A panicked passenger senses that something is off. This isn't like any electrical problem that she's ever seen. Plus, there was a massive crashing
God.
noise, and now the ship is tilting. So, she contacts her daughter in Italy. The daughter then calls the police, and the police call the harbour master. While that goes on,
Does he not already
a conversation
know?
between Pilon and Ambrosio. The diesel is not starting. The captain asks the engine room, but where have we made contact? Thinking that the incoming water can be reduced. Captain, here everything is lost. The electrical panel, everything.
You can't pump water if you've got no
They're saying
power,
at
can
this
you?
point that the ship is going down. The captain calls Roberto Ferrarini again. Actually, 2 compartments have been flooded, but don't worry, the ship's stability isn't in danger.
You liar.
Wrong. Passengers begin
actually
going to
said
muster
that.
stations
He's just
on their own
lying.
initiative.
Yeah.
The cruise director says, "We have a lot of people at muster stations that I do not want to fall overboard. Do we make an announcement to tell
Get
them to
them
go to the
off.
lounges?"
Oh my God.
Ambrosio says, "I think that's best." The harbour master
thank
from
God someone's
Livorno
got some
calls the
brains.
ship. The captain tells them that we just have a blackout. How long has this blackout been going on? About 20 minutes. Have you asked passengers to put on life vests? It's just a blackout. I gotta go. The harbour master is suspicious. He says to his superiors that he thinks something more is going on. He calls a patrol boat
I
to
hope
the
he's
area and
chucked in
asks them to
prison
look
for
at the
lying.
ship. Another problem.
I don't
The
actually know.
family
That's a good point. I don't know what
emergency
happened to
diesel generator isn't working properly. Pilon manually has to turn the thing on and off with a screwdriver so that it doesn't overheat and cause a fire.
Oh God!
The captain is on the phone to the lower decks, asking pointless questions like, "Is it still flooded?"
No!
Yes, it is. The captain is essentially in denial of the situation.
Pretty much, yeah.
The harbour master calls again. Finally, he says, "The ship is taking on water through an opening in the left side and the ship is listing." He qualifies with, "No one dead or injured." The harbour master asks if he needs help. "Just a tugboat?" When in reality, they need a full rescue.
Yeah.
With 3
a
compartments
tugboat.
flooded, the captain finally realizes that things are really bad and they are not going
Wow.
to improve. The Coast Guard
What
orders every
muppet.
available ship
Could
to
have
proceed.
cost lives. Well, he
Meanwhile,
must
up with
have.
the passengers, the cruise director's assistant says,
Return to
"Everything's
your
under control.
cabins."
Please return to your cabins or hang about in the lounges, no problem." She said this despite knowing it was wrong and that it further endangered lives. Most passengers at this point, though, aren't listening to this nonsense,
No.
and they're busy figuring out how to abandon ship. Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, the
Local
news.
television has already
least have
picked up
your
the story,
life
and they
jacket
begin
on,
broadcasting
minimum.
live radio feed from the bridge. Captain, the passengers are going on board the boats. Okay, let them go to shore. So then general emergency? Wait, let me talk to Ferrarini. We risk the emergency generators that do not have cooling. It has cooling problems, 100 degrees.
Start
The
a fire.
cooling fan has stopped. Pilon calls the bridge and tells the safety officer they need to evacuate. The safety officer relays this to the captain, but after no response, he orders the engine room to evacuate on his own. The captain says, "No, stay." We're leaving.
Stay.
So what do we do? General emergency?
Yeah, on the, I don't know,
The
must
captain
be able to
tells
get the
Phil Reed
boats
that he's
off
abandoned
if it gets to a
ship.
certain
Abandoned
angle,
ship.
can you?
Another announcement is made.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. The situation is under control. Please remain calm.
Under control.
CT almost sustained. They're located now.
Oh my god, there's lieutenants on there as well, aren't there?
The Livorno Coast Guard calls again. The captain declares distress.
Oh.
The Coast Guard officially calls for rescue operations. They contact Pietro Mille, the helicopter base commander, who then calls in every available pilot as he rushes
He could have
out
done
to
that
the
minutes
base.
earlier.
Yeah,
the emergency
yeah, I
generator.
expect there's probably a half hour in it, isn't there? He could have...
The first rescue vessel arrives. By this point, the lifeboats are already going. Luckily, the ship is very close to shore.
Oh, right.
Perhaps too close to shore. The ship forcefully runs aground, creating an uneven center of gravity, and it begins heavily listing starboard. The captain issues a general emergency on board. The announcement to abandon ship is finally called and alarms ring out, and with that comes panic. And now that they're listing, with many of the lifeboats too awkwardly positioned
I was
to
gonna
enter the
say.
water, there aren't enough readily available, and they have to start going back and forth to the shore, picking people up and dropping
Well,
them off.
luckily they were that
The
close.
patrol boats
Yeah,
report
can you imagine
to
if they
the
weren't?
harbour master that the
Well,
ship
you
has
could
been
argue that
aground
wouldn't
and is
happen, but-
listing heavily. So the harbour master asks the captain about it, and the captain says, no, the ship is still floating. In fact, we're trying to manoeuvre it onto the shore. They know he's lying.
So even after all that time, he's still in denial.
Yeah. Lying. Well, instantly arrested. He's...
What's going through his mind is, it, oh my god, I've crashed a third ship?
so,
He can't believe his luck.
got I don't know, £500 million ship or more, and he's hired somebody, I don't know what he's paid them, but next to nothing, that can't even speak his language to take sort of directions off him. But then the company that hired the captain, what
Maybe-
were they thinking? How did they come to
I don't know.
that? Were they trying to save money as well?
Maybe we'll see it. We're barely halfway
We're
through, so
nearly
maybe we'll
halfway.
see that.
I don't know.
Hold on, I'm reversing it. Beep, 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 beep. The captain then says to bottom
How
out
can
the
you
starboard
reverse
anchors.
it?
So they drop out the anchors, but let out too much chain, effectively rendering them useless. The deputy
Brilliant.
mayor of Giglio,
Should laugh.
Mario Pellegrini, and tobacco shop owner Giovanni Rossi arrive at the harbour. They watch the scene unfold. As the first of the lifeboats arrive on shore, the deputy mayor takes the initiative and races to board one of the lifeboats, returning to the ship.
Wow.
And starts trying to find someone in charge. He gives up and starts helping passengers.
Is there anyone in charge? Nope.
Scatino tells everyone to leave and take radios. But not before changing out of his uniform and into a nice suit.
Disguise.
Priorities. Dimitri Christidis and Sylvia Coronica leave with him. The maitre d' and Sir Morton both get out of there. By this point, approximately 300 people are still on the ship. Millet reaches the helicopter base. The first helicopter, a slow-moving Augusta Bell, was already rising from the tarmac for the hour-long flight south.
Hour away.
Ozio is the last crew member left on the bridge, coordinating evacuation. He then leaves to help passengers board lifeboats.
At least he stayed
the bridge
around.
is
Yeah.
now abandoned. And then, the ship's black box stops working. Apparently there were technical problems with it. That means, from here, things are going to get a little foggy and beaten.
Okay.
A while later, rescue helicopters arrive, but they're struggling to find the ship because they're expecting it to still be well above water. Passengers are scaling down the port side by ladder as lifeboats return to pick them
That's
up.
diabolical.
Horrendous.
Oh my goodness.
All for a wave. A flyby,
Yeah,
essentially.
flyby sort of thing. Okay, she
Ah.
got off. Yeah.
You're not allowed to make a film
I'm
movie.
allowed.
Who say you are?
Not
A
allowed.
second helicopter, a faster model, sets off. The ship stops healing and comes to a final resting place. Now the Coast Guard calls the captain because he's just learnt that the captain has abandoned ship. The captain claims, no, actually I slipped and I fell into one of the lifeboats. I'm a klutz. But now that I'm on board, I may as well get back to shore. DeFalco tells the captain to get the fuck back on board. And the captain kind of acts confused and then effectively refuses. So the captain makes it.
He bowls it.
From here, we only have mainstream news reports to rely on, so it's not going to be super accurate. But they say that Giglio's police chief then finds 110 survivors on the rocks at Point Gabbianaro.
Oh, God.
And among them is the captain. It's not known whether the captain helped anyone while he was there. And
my.
in fact, the police chief claimed that he just sat on the rocks and watched other people do the rescuing. A while later, a rescue boat picks up the captain and takes him to the harbour. He speaks to the police. He then finds the ship's onboard chaplain, Father Rafael Molina, and cries to him for about 15 minutes. Then he goes to the harbour master's office to receive probably the biggest dressing down of his entire life. Port authorities ask the
ships!
driver to take the captain
The third
to
one.
the hotel. The captain takes the 30-second cab ride to the Bahamas hotel.
Really?
According to the cabbie, he was beaten like a dog. He was cold and afraid. He only asked me where he could buy a pair of fresh socks. But then he perked right up again and gave an interview to a news crew. He told them that he was the last to leave.
The captain is usually the last to abandon ship. What happened, Captain?
We were the last to leave the ship.
All day Saturday, rescuers searched for people on the ship.
I guess once
Sunday
alive,
morning,
always
South
alive.
Korean couple was found in their
True.
cabin, safe but shivering. They had slept through the crash and woke up unable to exit their
Oh
cabin. The last survivor, Manrico Giampandroni, was found with a broken leg. He was the cabin's service director.
Wow.
In the end, 32 people died. The final body wasn't discovered until nearly 3 years later. A crew member, Russell Rebello. And it's believed that he died a
Okay,
hero,
so the
helping
captain should be
passengers.
done murder then.
The Cost
No-
of
no
Concordia
question.
was the largest cruise ship
Disgusting.
disaster since the Titanic.
That's appalling, that.
Yeah.
And then there's the ship. This is what happens to a 110,000-ton cruise liner when it's left half rolled over in the ocean.
Oh.
Breaks your heart, doesn't it?
Wow. Puts me off wanting to get on one, to be fair. I don't want to know who the
There's
captain is.
nothing wrong with the ship, though, was it? It's just the people manning it. Oh,
Yeah, but I don't think people should be out on the water. I don't think.
cool.
So they're trying to repair it, are they?
Surprised I managed to tip it back
But
over.
this isn't the end. It's just the halfway point.
Well, yeah, that's
What
a good
most
point.
people know is that the Cost of Concordia had crashed, many dead, and that the captain abandoned ship like a coward. But there's a whole veritable spaghetti of details to untangle. Let's dive
Okay.
in.
Nice.
The deets.
The what?
The deets.
The details. Okay. Oh.
Oh, of course.
Blue box time. The Costa Concordia was more than just a floating resort. There's a mall, a casino.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, yeah, of
Chest
course.
was full of safes and cash registers and expensive fittings. And there were plenty of gamers prepared to sneak by authorities and try their luck in the hot zone.
Oh, so.
Within days, police divers reported that valuable items, once seen lying around the ship, were now missing. High-end liquor, expensive furniture, dining sets, cash from the casino, cash registers, jewellery and display cabinets, safes,
Yeah, there would've been
Japanese
shops,
woodblock
wouldn't there?
prints by famous 18th century artists, as well as the iconic bell, which hung from the bridge of the ship. It was never found. Who steals a big fuck-off bell? Even the server admins were getting involved. 4 divers who were part of the company contracted to refloat the Concordia were spotted on CCTV, sneaking out to the ship. A patrol boat was dispatched, and the men were caught inside the fancy suites with rucksacks full of stolen goods.
We're just
The
trying to
4 men
save
were
it.
charged
Pretty
with
much.
stealing and thieving.
4 to 6 months.
Pension. Later on, stolen as well as legitimate items found their way to Amazon and eBay. Chips from the casino, postcards, and cabin access cards became highly sought after souvenirs.
It even has a watermark.
Some Australian guy even made a listing for the ship itself, advertising it as buyer to collect. And although there were plenty of bidders, eBay pulled the plug.
Oh, dear.
I know you want to see Scatino go to jail, and we'll get to that. But first,
He must
we
have
have to
done.
talk about
God,
someone
Johnny.
else. Dominica
Oh, right, yes, of course.
Sir Morton.
That was a close one.
What's so special about her?
There was speculation that she was on the bridge that evening because she was the captain's mistress.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Tense media speculation reports that
Oh,
her presence
not enough blood going to the brain.
They both denied their love
Quite
for
possibly.
years and maintained that they were just friends. Although she did later admit to the media that she found him handsome. And how could you not?
You so fucking precious when you smile.
But she says there was no romantic link between them.
Some people would like to believe, they want to know I have something with him. It's more interesting. It's like, you know, some spicy in the story.
Miss Sir Morton also loved the spotlight, however.
Everyone!
And took several interviews. But as the pressure mounted,
She certainly weren't camera shy.
she began making ominous threats to Scatino, saying he must confess, and that you have but 1 week to come clean.
Oh.
But things were getting weird.
Spicy.
Sir Morton is a bit of a wild card. In a subsequent interview, she claimed a helicopter came
Ex-lover
to the
now.
ship well before the other rescue craft to take away a package. Huh? And what was that package? Drugs, apparently. So rumors began that the ship was running narcotics for the
no!
And not without cause. A number of cruise ships, even recently, have been caught trafficking drugs. As an aside, Scatino was tested for drugs immediately after the crash. He tested negative for drugs in his system, but trace amounts of cocaine were found in a hair sample.
Makes it smoother and less dry.
Nonetheless, the Concordia was searched and no drugs were reported.
So was he high as a kite?
How did we get here?
No,
Oh, right, a helicopter.
Well, no, he had no drugs in his system.
And said,
He'd taken them
actually,
before now.
That helicopter was just for the captain.
Could have been why he
as a
crashed
means
the
of
last two.
evacuating from the ship. Okay, wait. So she expected to get some sort of first-class rescue while everyone else was still stuck on the ship? Wait, how did we get here? Oh, right, sex with the captain. Divers were quick to head to the captain's cabin where they found Miss Sir Morton's lingerie and other articles of clothing as well as a makeup bag. The jig was up, but they continued denying it. Sir Morton mostly faded from international attention until she was told to appear before the court to present witness testimony. The judge pressed her to be truthful about their relationship, or she would be held in contempt.
Either tell me the truth or shut up.
So finally, she admitted it.
Yes, I had a sentimental relationship with the captain.
Sentimental.
But now, stop asking about my private life.
She was indeed the captain's lover.
What is up, Trouble Alert Nation? Scatino cheated on his wife with C. Morton. Oh my god!
She and Scatino had been having an affair for several weeks. She also said that on the night she boarded, she didn't have a ticket.
Ticket, please.
And didn't need to pay because nobody questions you when you're the captain's lover. Naturally, she gave another confusing interview after leaving court.
I want to say that today is the second time I die because the first time I died the night of the crash with my psychological brain and problems. And today
Problems,
I died the second time because, of course, people find out something that I try to hide.
Oh
Subsequent to the trial,
no,
she
we
used
found
her
the
fame in
truth.
Moldova to become a political activist, often appearing on television and radio and in articles covering protests, accompanied by pictures of her being
She
arrested
did
by police.
better out of it than anyone.
Oh!
Not enough bins
There was
everywhere.
some stuff about victims of violence, women's rights,
Girl power.
yada yada yada. And interestingly, part of a push to block the sale of shares of Moldova's train network to Russia. Sure, it's right. Other than that,
Who
I don't
else was
really
she
know what
sleeping
she's
with
been
then?
up to. Just check on the Oh God, not again.
Oh. Captain the pilot.
I could be a pilot.
Oh.
Several civil suits were quickly lodged against Cost of Concordia, and their parent company,
She
Carnival
didn't have a
Cruises,
black box with her.
immediately saw a share drop of 23%.
Oh.
Don't beat.
Passengers sought compensation for their damaged mental.
See, that's the problem with this. You think about, there's unfortunately people lost their lives. The captain was, like in your own words, was a knob. Whatever else is going on there. But then there's the cost to the company. Forget about the ship. It's its reputation afterwards. Like you could imagine, if a Virgin plane went down, no one would want to fly on Virgin anymore. It's not just about the plane, is it? It's about all the reputation.
I was thinking more about compensation for the people because my cousins were actually on one of the ferries that actually tipped. They left the doors open when they went out of Dover, and it went down just outside the port, and they got quite a lot of money each for that. And,
well, look at that on that headline where I paused that there. They're suing for $460 million.
There's a lot more people on that than there was on a ferry going out.
I wonder how successful they were.
Health, lost belongings, and loved ones.
Either they allowed him to divert from his course, or they didn't know where their billion-dollar ship was.
Within a few days, facing financial and media pressure, the CEO attempted to join the bandwagon against the captain and the crew.
That was not the ordinary route that the ship was taking at the time, and was not only taking, but the time the ship was...
Claiming that the ship was not approved to deviate from the route. But that wasn't true. Approval isn't required if the ship is deviating by less than 15 miles, or that it was against company rules. Also untrue, because investigators found that they didn't have any rules about deviating route, and they tacitly encouraged sail by salutes.
Wow.
In response to the civil suits, Cost of Concordia offered passengers €11,000 each as compensation.
That's not a lot.
That's kind of small.
That is.
€11,000, about $14,000, is the minimum compensation under international law when a ship is abandoned.
This was to reimburse them for their tickets, as well as any costs they accrued in having to.
So my cousin's got a lot more than that each.
And that was
but that's maybe
to
minimum.
Them from everything and anything that has to do with this accident. I cannot ask for more than this.
A lot of passengers, understandably, were not too happy with this deal, and they refused to take the money.
We think the offer is an insult. For what these poor passengers went through, we think that...
I would not have been very happy to have been on that ship.
No. Take it. Compensation being offered is not commensurate.
Later, Cost of Concordia would lodge a plea deal with the Tuscany court to pay a €1 million fine to avoid a criminal trial. The judge agrees. Cost of Concordia is now off the hook for all criminal liability for the whole thing. They've washed their hands of the incident and flexed the residual droplets of responsibility.
So they're not going to get any compensation more than what than the minimum.
Passengers and relatives of the dead are livid that the company has been able to avoid criminal responsibility.
Offered is not commensurate.
Civil suits against the company continue. By the way, the residents of the island of Giglio also banded together and sought damages. They didn't get much.
Wow.
Eventually, passengers who refused the initial compensation of $11,000 joined civil parties against Scatino in his trial in 2015.
Is not commensurate.
They were awarded €30,000 each. Other cases, especially those involving lost relatives, are settled for undisclosed amounts.
More likely.
Definitely better.
Scams.
New York attorney Peter Renee travelled to Budapest to represent 6 real survivors of the disaster.
At Renee, we personally work on every case.
And we'll work harder than anyone to get you the most money possible in the shortest amount of time.
And while on the job, a 7th case cropped up via email. An elderly woman, Alona, said,
"Help me, Mr. Ronai, for I have lost my daughter, Eva,
of course,
my 5-year-old
what compensation do they get?
Roxana."
So Mr. Renai agreed to speak with her. However, there were some inconsistencies in her story. Neither Eva nor Roxana were on the passenger list. Odd. But Costa is known for having stowaways.
Gotcha, bitch.
Still, Mr. Renai was suspicious.
Yeah.
They wouldn't cheaty old Petey, would they? Renai inquired further about why she was on board, especially without a ticket. Ilona said,
"Well, I don't know, but you should ask her boyfriend.
Zolt Horvath.
He'll know all the details."
I'm up all night. I'm going crazy, he said. But Mr. Renai was still suspicious. Because then she asked, "How much money do you think this is worth?" This is a huge red flag, Petey. In 20 years of doing this, you've never had anyone ask about money. Why now? So Mr. Renai hired an investigator and sent photos around of the missing girl. The next day, the phone...
Somebody found her.
Oh, hoi, hoi. It was the boyfriend again. Look, there's been a bit of a misunderstanding and the child isn't missing at all.
Ah, there you go.
And then he claimed he was confused because he had done too many drugs the night before. Oh. Okay, can I speak to the daughter then? At first, he was refused. So Renai said that he'd have to file a missing persons report to the police if he couldn't. The boyfriend relented. That night, Renai met with Zolt and brought the police with him. He speaks to the granddaughter and asks her if she's seen Mum. Yeah, I saw her today. Oh, really? Yeah, we went to the park today and we went on the swings. Oh no, the jig was up. So the mum walks into the room sheepishly. It's a miracle! And the story changed again. Okay, I'm not dead, but I did injure my leg when I jumped from the ship.
But she
and
went
then I
on.
immediately flew back to Budapest. Although don't worry about checking my leg because there are no visible marks or injuries. Oh, Petey, I'm beginning to think they weren't even on the boat. Also, it turns out this lady isn't her mum, it's just a neighbour. Eventually, Renee managed to make the pair
Just a
confess.
neighbour.
And then they said, hey, we haven't done anything wrong. We haven't taken any money. And
Tried
in the end,
to.
it looks like there'll be no criminal punishment for the scam because Hungary, a former communist country, has no laws against insurance fraud on the books.
The law firm that never sleeps. Call 1-800-6647.
Oh, that's a bad idea. Oh, that's a very bad idea.
Ooh. Vada Bordo.
Mario, would you teach me some Italian?
Oh, of course.
Get back on board for fuck's sake.
Okay, thanks.
Gregorio De Falco, the naval officer who
Shout
shouted
out
at
and get
Scutino
back
to
on board.
Vada a bordo caso, became a bit of a national hero overnight
Oh.
in Italy. He, like the rest of the world, expected Scutino to go down with the ship. And when the captain chickened out, De Falco was there to admonish him. And when he stopped answering the radio, he called him on his cell phone to continue putting him on blast. When the captain first reported just a blackout, De Falco didn't believe the story and immediately began preparing
Well
a rescue
done.
effort, which likely saved several lives. His actions were applauded by most Italians.
But you
who tired
wonder
of
if
their
it
public
wasn't for the
servants being corrupt
lies,
and avoiding
how many
responsibility.
people would have actually died?
Would they? Yeah. Because they just say we need to get off.
Yeah.
Onto the lifeboats.
Might have been, what was it, 33? It might have been way less, if any.
But then, in September 2014, without warning, De Falco was transferred to an admin role in the Coast Guard.
Hear what I said? You've been demoted.
De Falco said that he had been passed up for promotion, that he had also not been told which admin office he was even being transferred to, and that it all effectively cancelled 10 years of his career. De Falco was tres furioso, and there was public speculation that it was owing to bad blood between himself and Admiral Delano, his former boss. His status among the public overshadowed his superior in many ways. On the other hand, his boss said, no, it's part of the normal career progression for naval officers and that he must show more maturity and professionalism to advance his career. Now, it's hard to know what's true in office politics, so let's leave that alone. And anyway, in 2018,
Not long
De Falco
ago.
said buenas noches, you later, to the Italian Navy to become a politician. In March that year, he was elected to the Italian Senate, serving as a member for Livorno. He still serves there today.
I'm the captain now.
And what happened to the captain?
I don't know.
Aha, there you go, it's got me in.
Yes.
The day after the disaster, Scutino was taken into custody by police and underwent questioning. However, it was clear that this would not be a straightforward investigation. So the judge released him under house arrest at his home in Sorrento, a town in Napoli.
Oh, what?
By
Hard
July
life.
of that year, the house arrest was relaxed and he was allowed within this general area. While under house arrest, he wrote a book with this journalist from Rai magazine. I have no idea what it says, I don't speak Italian. But goddammit, he must have some kind of charisma going on, because there's been a lot of speculation in the press that he had an affair with her as well.
You can't keep getting away with
Hold on, I got it. Not content with abandoning his ship, This dude is determined to abandon his wife as well. So, Schettino and 5 others are facing criminal charges. Straight away, everyone lodges a plea bargain with the court. And all of those plea bargains are accepted, except for Schettino.
Right.
And the condition of everyone's reduced sentences are that they must provide witness testimony against Schettino.
He touched me.
Ciro, Jacob, and Silvia were all given suspended sentences. Roberto and Manrico are able to opt for community service or house arrest. Not a bad deal.
No.
A good deal.
Yes.
Good deal. And that meant that Schettino was now all on his own. Ciro, the first officer, was the first to give his testimony. On the witness stand, he claimed that Schettino was distracted by his mistress and other guests on the bridge. That there was confusion over who was in command. Then it was Jacob's turn. And he said, Lamau XD, because he didn't actually bother with his testimony or his reduced sentence. He just fled the country. It took authorities 12 months to eventually track him down on the outskirts of Jakarta. And when they said, "Oi, we still want that witness testimony," he just scalped again. And he hasn't been found since.
Oh, God.
After that, Ferrarini gave his testimony, then look, we don't have time to relitigate the whole trial, so let's just go straight to the verdict. Guilty! Schettino was found guilty of multiple manslaughter, causing a shipwreck, abandoning ship, and lying to authorities. He is sentenced to 16 years and 1 month in prison.
1 month?
But wait, there's still the appeals.
The
appeals trial begins.
Well, he's in denial, don't forget.
The verdict on the appeal.
Who's he appealing
Surprised.
to?
Rejected.
He got a female judge, have
So Schettino's lawyers appealed again. And the verdict on the final appeal...
Schettino made multiple attempts to secure a plea deal, but was denied by the prosecution each time.
Good.
The prosecution called for Schettino to be sentenced to 26 years in prison, calling the incident a titanic affair.
Oh, okay, I see what you did there.
Schettino was not present. His lawyers stated that he was waiting outside of the jail for the ruling, so that if his plea was rejected, he could immediately start serving his sentence. And with that, 5 years and 4 months after the disaster, he was finally
Oscar
Said I will not be making any comment. Oh, that hurt.
Boom! Yeah, that couldn't have been easy.
Wow, how are we doing? Oh yeah, just
The salvage
it's got quite
operation
quick, really,
was
hasn't it?
enormous.
Yes, yeah.
It took over 2 years and cost an estimated $1.2 billion. Beginning in early 2012, they first spent 2 months pumping fuel from the ship's tanks. At the same time, they had to pump seawater in so that the balance wasn't affected and the ship didn't slide around.
Okay.
In early 2013, a platform was built under the ship to prevent it from falling further. Sponsons were then attached to the sides of the ship and cables attached to the underwater platform. The sponsons were then dragged underwater and opened up to allow the ocean to fill them. The ship could then roll over properly. By late 2013, the ship was upright once more. The sponsons were then attached to the side of the ship to help keep it balanced. It now rested partially above water and crews could walk around safely. By July 2014, the water was removed from the sponsons and compressed air was pumped in to lift the ship. And she was ready to cruise again. This time to a port in Genoa. It was a 4-day towing journey to the docks where a 2-year process of dismantling and recycling would begin. That same weekend of the towing, Schettino was busy. He was the guest of honor at a white party on an island in the Bay of Naples. He appeared on the front page of a local newspaper, flanked by 2 of Italy's most eligible bachelorettes.
What a story.
Wow.
Anyway, so these are the things that I remember from the Cost of Concordia.
Yeah, they're the things you remember.
That sweet maiden of...
Well, we'll leave that there. Yeah, the bell. It was someone, they actually dived underwater and stole the bell. But no, what'd you take from that? Deaths, unnecessary deaths, and even with the ship crashing, you could always argue there would have been deaths. I still ask that question: how many could have been saved had they not been in denial from the very first instance when they was phoning back to shore?
As soon as he knew that there was no way the motors would be able to do anything, he should have trusted the engineers.
Such a shame
to get people off.
Yes, I love the way you hit a nail on the head on that one. I thought you got a knob. I thought, yeah, too right. And it's just, I mean, just to have the bottle bounce off it, and then it sailed on Friday the 13th, if that was correct. And then it was like the 100-year anniversary after the sailing of the Titanic. Even I don't really want to ask. It's the kind of question I normally ask. Was you on the ship? Are you sat here watching it with us? What was your thoughts? Do you know anyone that was on the ship?
That's an interesting comment to read.
That would be interesting comments to read. I think we'll leave that there. I don't think it was a long enough episode, wasn't it?
That was long enough.
It was long. Sorry for boring you through that, but if you are still here, thumbs up to you. Let us know in the comments below if you watched us all. I don't see why you would have done, but yeah, let us know anyway. But no, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you all soon.
Catch you on the flip side.